Hi, everybody. This is Laura, and I am super late joining our live, and that is because our Brooke is not with me today, and she is the guru of going live and doing all of our marketing things, and I couldn't figure out how to get on without her. Normally I can, but it seems like Facebook has changed a couple of things, so I'm having trouble getting on with my laptop. So you're seeing me on my phone, which is why it might look a little bit strange. I don't know where to put my eyes and everything. So thank you for allowing me into your day. I'm going to start off by saying this is a very important day because it is election day. It is one of those days that you've got to exercise your right to vote if you haven't already. The judicial races here in Arkansas are extremely important. I don't think people realize how much the judges here in pretty much in any situation affect your lives and affect the rules and all sorts of things. The judges are the reason that we're allowed to practice the way that we do, that we can offer our limited scope representation. So we encourage you to do some research if you haven't already done so and go out and vote today. I think the polls close around 7 o'clock tonight. So make sure you get out and vote, please. Because I'm a little bit technologically challenged today with my shaky phone work here holding up the camera. I'm going to go a little bit short today and be brief, but I do want to say that Brooke and I were out last week at a legal conference that we go to every year. It was in Chicago, and both of us came back a little bit under the weather, but if you see me second on a cough drop, that's kind of what it is. But one of the things that I kind of want to talk about that I've talked about before, but it's very important, is that you have the ability to, in any family law cases, we're going to talk about family law a little bit, and in any of your family law issues, it's best if you can do a lot of the things yourself. Once you involve, judges and things like that, you give up all of the control that you could possibly have over things like who has custody of your children and, who gets the house and how property is divided. And if you're talking about divorce, but if you're talking about other things like child support or guardianship of a grandchild or things like that, the best thing that you can do is figure out how to sit down with the other person that's involved in the particular issue and work things out. So I wanted to give a couple of tips, 3 tips on how to negotiate with someone so that you're not letting a judge decide for you what's best for yourself and your family. And again, I'll make this a little bit brief because of my little shakiness with the camera. This is going to be a very interesting playback when we see it later. Number 1 is when you're going to sit down and kind of talk to the person that you are negotiating with, that you're, in the situation with, is make sure that you clearly have an idea in your head of what your goals are, what you would like things to look like, because that's going to help in the long run, as opposed to you kind of walking in saying, hey, I have no idea what we even need to talk about. That's where it's best to talk to. Lawyers are extremely helpful when it comes to here are the things that you need to figure out and that you need to decide, so that a judge, basically, all they have to do is sign off on something. So, talk to an attorney, figure out what things you need to decide, and have a clear idea of what you want to talk about, what your goals are, before you kind of sit down with that other person. Another one is listen. And when I say listen, I'm going to say listen like 19 times. Listen to hear what the other person is saying and not listening to respond with some kind of yeah, but. So listening is one of the most powerful tools that you have, because then you're actually hearing what the other person is saying. Sometimes what I like to tell people is to repeat what the other person says and see if they agree with how you're interpreting it. So if somebody says, I want to have the kids at my house every Christmas, then you can say, what I hear you say is that you want the kids at your house every Christmas. What I would prefer is that we maybe alternate. So listen for the language that they're actually using, and if you have the opportunity to repeat what they're saying so that there's no confusion, because a lot of times we hear what we want to hear or what we think they're going to say as opposed to the actual reality of what they're saying. A third thing is family law is an emotional, anytime you're dealing with anything with family law, you're dealing with an emotional situation. Family law has to do with marriage, divorce, children, things like that. It's going to be emotional, but the best thing you can do for yourself is try to take your emotions as much out of the process of talking to the other person as possible, because when you start getting that emotional buildup, then you're less likely to hear what the other person is saying. And it just makes things a lot more difficult to actually sit and negotiate through the whole process. Excuse me. So as much as possible, try to keep your emotions out of the conversation. Try really hard to sit down and to say, I may end this a little bit early just because I'm coughing so much. I can feel it kind of building up, but I'm going to switch views here. No, I can't. I can't switch views. So that third thing is try to keep your emotions out of it as much as possible. And I'm going to end it here just because I'm going to start coughing a lot right now. But please remember today is election day, national races, but also your local races. And thank you so much for joining me. We'll be back next week at 11:30 on Tuesday. Thanks. Bye.